Welcome to today's deep dive on Game of Life cheat codes from beyond. Let's take a moment today to peek behind the curtain of reality and discover your true multi-layered self.
Because you are far more than just skin and bones.
Quite right. We are looking at L.A. Fairhoff's book, 7 Universal Truths from Near-Death Experiences. Specifically, Chapter 6, on being infinite. For those of you who already study non-local consciousness, you know the baseline premise.
Right, that we are much more than our physical bodies.
Exactly. So today's mission is to examine the specific anatomical structure of that multidimensional self that Fairhoff mapped out.
And it's important to note, Fairhoff didn't just theorize this structure out of thin air. They synthesized recurring patterns from over 3,000 near-death experiences.
Which is a staggering amount of data.
It really is. And a highly consistent data point in these clinical accounts was patients reporting a distinct sequence of shedding layers during clinical death. First, they described a release of dense physical weight.
Then a dropping of emotional turbulence.
Right, followed by a dissolution of rigid mental constructs, until only pure, infinite awareness remained.
Which leads to Fairhoff reversing the traditional esoteric model of the self. Because instead of the physical body acting as an outer shell that houses a soul,
they propose a reversed Russian nesting doll analogy.
yes, a reversed Russian nesting doll. In this model, your physical body is actually the absolute smallest, densest doll sitting in the very center of your existence.
Surrounding that tiny physical core is your energetic body, which acts as the immediate, subtle template for your physiology.
And outside of that sits the emotional field, where feelings are stored as frequency.
Yeah, and encompassing that is the mental layer, housing your thought structures and beliefs. Finally, all of these subtle layers nest within a vast spiritual dimension, basically plugging you directly into universal consciousness.
You know, we humans do have a rather endearing habit of identifying solely with the visible, don't we?
We really do.
We wander about declaring, "I am this body," with its peculiar fondness for biscuits, as if the vast, shimmering symphony of our true being were merely a faint hum in the background. The universe, one might surmise, finds our limited self-perception quite quaint.
That's a great way to put it.
But practically speaking, understanding this structure fundamentally changes how we look at systemic health and daily well-being.
It does. Because if the physical body is the innermost, densest layer, it acts as the final catch basin for turbulence happening in those outer invisible fields. Fairhoff refers to this as the cascade effect.
This cascade effect.
Yeah, in the NDE accounts, individuals repeatedly noted seeing their physical illnesses as downstream manifestations of blockages in their subtle layers. A chronic physical ailment rarely starts in the tissue.
It often begins as a rigid, persistent loop in the mental layer.
Exactly, which then generates a distortion in the emotional field.
And that emotional turbulence compresses the energetic template. Eventually, that density cascades down into the physical body as inflammation, a racing heart, or chronic tension. The physical symptom is literally just the final stop on the train.
Therefore, treating only the physical symptom is highly inefficient. True healing requires tracing the pathology back out to its origin point in the subtle layers.
Because if you merely suppress the physical symptom without clearing the mental or emotional distortion that caused it,
the cascade effect will eventually recreate the physical issue.
Precisely. Now, Fairhoff bridges this gap between esoteric theory and daily reality with a tangible exercise you can try right now, just to test the boundary of that first subtle layer.
It's a really simple exercise.
It is. Just hold your hands a few inches apart, palms facing each other, and simply bring your focused attention to the empty space between them.
You will likely notice a subtle warmth, a slight tingling, or almost a magnetic resistance.
And Fairhoff notes that while modern science measures the bioelectromagnetic field generated by your heart and nervous system, this measurable physical phenomenon is essentially the densest, most detectable edge of your energetic body.
Right, the two systems completely overlap.
So once you isolate that sensation between your palms, you can practice expanding your awareness to sense that same field about 6 inches beyond your skin surrounding your entire body.
You are actively feeling the first invisible layer in your nested structure, the energetic atmosphere you carry into every room you enter.
And recognizing this immediate field shifts your daily perspective. You move from perceiving yourself as an isolated physical object navigating a material world to recognizing yourself as a multi-layered energetic system constantly interacting with other fields of consciousness.
It's a massive paradigm shift.
It truly is. Well, thanks for listening. I trust this was insightful. You can find the book online. We've put a universal link in the show notes for you. Join us next week for another look at transforming our thoughts.
See you then.
But before you go, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over today. If your physical body is just the densest, smallest fraction of your total structure, how does that change the weight and absolute authority you give to today's purely physical or material stressors? Keep exploring.